I'm really delighted that we're joined by Jemima Montagu, a very distinguished curator of contemporary art, but has also lived and worked in Afghanistan, and currently is one of the co-directors of Culture and Conflict, an organization that I've had the pleasure of knowing and being in dialogue with because we share important agenda.
Hello, thank you very much, Ian, and it's lovely to be here today. Thank you for having me. Well, it's a big shift, if you like, from what we've just been hearing about, because I want to tell you a little bit about some emerging art forms in Afghanistan at the moment, which take a definitely anti-establishment kind of line. And that's very important in the context of what is unfolding there. Just to give you a quick intro to me, I'm a curator by background. I worked at the Tate for 6 years. I worked mainly in the visual arts, so I'm really not an authority on music in any way at all. But I'm touching on a few musical initiatives I know happening, because I think it connects to the discussions here today. I went out to Afghanistan in 2006 first to help start up this NGO called Turquoise Mountain. It's a cultural heritage NGO and was mainly dealing with the restoration of a historic area of the old city of Kabul called Murad Khani. This was an area, as you can see, steeped in history, but more than knee-deep, I'd say, neck-deep in rubbish and refuse that had accumulated over decades and was very, very neglected. I'm not going to go into this because it's not the main subject, but I thought it'd be interesting just to show a few slides of the kind of work that we were doing. It was very much about restoring the sort of centrepiece architectural houses in this district, which were no more than 100 or 150 years old, but nevertheless had the character of traditional Afghan urban architecture. And so certainly worth preserving. Nobody believed it could be done. It was a slum, genuinely a slum. And as you can see from these sort of before and after pictures, the Peacock House, so called because of very intricate carved peacocks in the woodwork, which unfortunately you can't quite see here, but just on the tops of these arches. Lost my thread now. Anyway, this is an area of historical significance and is now really transformed into a place which you might begin to call a tourist destination. I know we're not quite talking in terms of tourism in Afghanistan yet, and certainly, there's a lot of... I don't think you should love, because this is a country of many contrasts. The military perspective is one, and you will also see many other sides to Afghanistan, and many people are travelling there not only for purposes of war and reconstruction and aid, but there are also people still working on cultural initiatives, archaeology, and also tourism in its more extreme forms. But I think it's important to shift our kind of inhibitions and prejudices about what kind of country this is, and that's part of what I'm trying to do in talking to you about these different cultural initiatives. And to say that along the way, as part of the reconstruction of this urban area, Murad Khani, we built a public school, a community clinic, all very important parts of engaging with the local population, providing something that was a very tangible and concrete benefit to people beyond the cultural benefits. So that leads me to a few different projects that I'm going to describe. This one I initiated and ran myself, but some of the others were managed by people I knew out there, Afghans and internationals. Most of these I'm talking about are sort of what we might call Western projects, or perhaps Western style projects, and I think that's an important thing to address up front. Is that what is the business of somebody bringing a contemporary art prize, Turner Prize style to Afghanistan? What is the business of a rock concert? And we get a lot of hostility and a lot of criticism about importing Western styles, importing Western concepts, and surely we should be about supporting indigenous music, indigenous culture. And actually, all of those attitudes I find somewhat patronising. This is a country that yearns to be part of the global world, the international world that we all know and understand and participate in. And there is something, I think, patronising, regressive about the sort of worry about being international and promoting and doing things that are genuinely international and helping Afghans participate in cultural languages that address their isolation and address their vilification and address the stereotypes that they have to live with. So, sorry, just to give you a sort of rabble-rousing start, this is part of the reason I wanted to do something like a contemporary art prize in Afghanistan. It first was initiated in 2008. We did a call through radio, media, TV, and it was really a way of trying to gauge what is the contemporary visual arts language in a place like Afghanistan. Obviously, as I've said, stereotypes prevail. One would imagine that nobody engages in, ordinary kind of painting or music making at all. But as we know, and I'm sure everyone's been describing, many of these kinds of things go on all the time because people's lives continue. And in fact, we had the most extraordinary turnout, 75 entries in the first year from all over the country, from which we selected 10 participants in a kind of 2-week art workshop leading to an exhibition. Here's the poster in 2008. Artists travelled from what were very much, and still are in fact, the badlands of southeast Afghanistan, having to go through numbers of checkpoints, Taliban checkpoints. Obviously they weren't going to say they were participating in an international art prize because that probably would have led them straight to the executioner. But one very ingenious guy came up with the idea of carving a Bismillah, a prayer, in wood, and sort of installed this on top of each of his sculptures. So whenever he was confronted, he simply said, "This is my devotional pieces. They're devotional pieces to God," and everyone sort of, showed deference, and he was allowed to wave on through.